So before we start, today is November 11th. Yep, and that means it is subscriber Andrew Garrett's birthday. So dude, you've been asking for this one for a while and I finally set myself down to do it, finally. So happy birthday and here we go! So Brother Bear, not gonna lie, it would sort of suck without the Phil Collins soundtrack, wouldn't it? Yeah, let's be honest with ourselves, I like it fine, but I feel like it does very much belong in that Disney not-so-great period of the noughties. But, I mean, it's not like Home on the Range or anything, you know? It's still pretty good, okay? It is a delightful story, it's full of Native Americans, and that made this a harder job to fan cast than most films, yeah. Not gonna lie, the majority of Native American actors that show up immediately when you kind of do a Google search are old men or younger women. So, with the three brothers to cast here who were all young men, I was just kind of like immediately, oh man, oh god, just don't cast all people from the Twilight films, because that's who jumped up when I went searching deeper. That's who I found first, was all of them. So, basically, here's what I could do without just casting a lot of people from Twilight, okay? First up is Kenai. Kenai is a dick. Yeah, no, yeah, he's a dick. He instantly rejects the idea of love guiding him in his life, saying the words, "What does love have to do with being a man?" Not cool, bro, you know? Love is what we're all about here on this channel, so subscribe for love, kids. Anyway, Joaquin Phoenix originally played him. I think he was born in Puerto Rico, but I'm not going to say any more about that. I'm just going to cast Forrest Goodluck. He was Leonardo DiCaprio's son in The Revenant when he was half Native American, and he was excellent. And then I saw him again in The Miseducation of Cameron Post a couple of years ago, and he was excellent in that as well. So I was just kind of like, okay. I didn't really know for sure what age to cast any of the three brothers, you know? They look very different in age. For Kenai, I was just kind of like, he's meant to be at the start of his journey to becoming a man at the beginning of this. So I was like, okay, Forrest Goodluck is 22. So he could easily play, like, 18. He could even probably get away with slightly younger than that still, if that's what Kenai needs to be. But if he needed to be a bit older, he probably doesn't need to be older than, like, 20, 21. So I kind of thought that was probably the right kind of age to cast, you know? It just has to be somewhere in that range. Next, Coda was easier to cast, because he wasn't originally cast Native American. Well, no, I mean, none of them were. But he was originally cast as an African American kid, and I was like, okay, it would be quite easy to do that again. I don't see any reason why he has to be cast Native American, so I'm just going to stick with the way they originally cast him for this one. And I'm going to cast J.D. McCrary, because I immediately went, hey, they had to get a young, talented, who can sing African American kid to place young Simba in The Lion King, didn't they? And it was him, and I went, oh, that is perfect, because I think the original actor for Coda was maybe 13, 14 when he played him, which is older than I would have expected. But J.D. McCrary is, I think, 13 now, and I was like, yeah, no, that all fits really well. And he did sing really well in the live-action Lion King. We'll save my own thoughts on the live-action Lion King for another time. But he was very good in it, you know. Can't complain about most of the cast of it, at the very least. Next, so Rut and Tuk? Yeah, I think so. Basically, you see, it's a Disney film, so even though most of the main characters are animals, they still need animal sidekicks. So it's a pair of annoying mooses. Mises? An annoying moose couple that are just Canadian comedians and follow them around. And it was Rick Moranis and Dave Thomas originally, so I was kind of thinking about it for a while, but I'm going to cast Ryan Reynolds as Rut. That seems obvious. He'll just be a nightmare probably for being animated, you know, completely go off script and make too many Canadian jokes, you know. But it would be glorious. And then I thought, how about Will Arnett as Tuk? He's only half Canadian, I believe, but he would be so good at this kind of comedic bit role, and he's so good in all animated roles. He's just so much fun, you know, and I think he'd riff really well with Ryan Reynolds, so that would just be a great time, no question. You know, that's just what they are. They're for being there and being amazing, and trying to make them not annoying despite being the comedic relief, and I think they do it great. Next, Tanana. Yeah, it's harder to find older Native American actresses. You know, when you look them up, most of the older ones are guys. But I found Tantoo Cardinal. Yeah, she's been around for a long time. She's about 70, I think, which is certainly old enough to play this kind of old wise woman in the tribe, with a definite comedic bit to her character as well, that you kind of didn't expect when you first saw her pop up. You thought she'd be like a really serious kind of character, you know, even disapproving. But no, she ended up being like a really quite congenial? Jovial? I don't know. Words are everywhere tonight, sorry. She ended up being a very happy, kind character, and that would be awesome for Tantoo Cardinal, because she's done a lot of things. She's been in loads of things over the years. She was in Dances with Wolves and Legends of the Fall, but then more recently she's been in things like Wind River, and most importantly led the awesome Falls Around Her in 2018, which was just great, and it was about a Native American returning to her reserve. And looking at that especially, I think she'd just be perfect for this role. Next, Tug is a big older bear, and out of the other animals they meet, you know, there are a few other bears and things, and there was like a couple of rams or something. Tug is the only one of any of them that I feel really needs to be cast here. You know, he's the only one I'm going to bother with, because he was the leader of that pack of bears they ran into. He already knew Coda, and he kind of found Kenai weird, but I found it fun that Tug wasn't actually like a bad guy. You know, I kind of expected him to be like overly suspicious of Kenai and quite like and tough, you know. And it was Michael Clark Duncan, you know, it was a big, heavy, like powerful voice. You kind of would have expected him to be a bit more of a villain, but he really wasn't. He was just so nice, and I was kind of like, wow. First of all, I thought, you need someone who can match that Michael Clark Duncan voice, and it's not, you know, it's such a specific kind of like deep and powerful voice. It's not like a Samuel L. Jackson voice, and it's not even like a Idris Elba kind of deep and powerful. It's different. I thought it was a lot like a kind of Ving Rhames voice, so I'm going to cast him, because he's very good at tough-looking characters who end up being very nice. You know, that's kind of something he does quite often, actually. So I was like, yeah, that'd just be nice. I like Ving Rhames, and I don't think I've ever cast him in anything before, so that's another fun one. Though I haven't cast a lot of these people and stuff before. Yeah. Next, Denahi. Is he the villain? Definitely not. All he does is try to viciously murder the two leading characters for a majority of the film. So I ask again, is he the villain? Yeah. No, he's no. Denahi is in fact one of the characters out of all Disney movies that I feel the most sorry for, you know? Because he's that voice of reason after Sitka dies, telling Kenai, no, don't go after the bear, don't act in vengeance, your totem is love. And when Kenai then seems, from his perspective, to fall to a bear, then he gets that like vengeance in his heart and like starts going after them, and it's like, it's so sad to watch, because he's lost everything and he's just enveloped by this hatred. But he's still not, you know, you still like feel sorry for him every time he nearly dies or anything, because you know that Kenai doesn't feel angry at him or want him dead or anything still. And then at the end it does all end up okay, which is great as well. But I very much thought, maybe this is the one I'm going to use on somebody that was in Twilight. I want to cast Booboo Stewart, okay? That's a great name. I want to, because by the time it starts, Denahi is already a man, definitely. He's solved his journey or whatever, he's done all that. He's significantly older, I think. You know, he's a few years older certainly than Kenai appears to be, but he's still a few years younger than Sitka looks. So I was comfortable casting Booboo Stewart because he's 26. But also, you know, you don't just talk about the Twilight films when it comes to him. You talk about an X-Men role, you talk about the Descendants movies, you talk about Hansel and Gretel Witch Hunter. We don't have to talk about that one, no. He's got a lot of experience in action roles for somebody so young, you know, for being still in his mid-20s. So I was kind of like, yeah, no, that's perfect for Denahi, the character who has to do the most as an actual live-action human on-screen work in a live-action remake of this. I never questioned, by the way, whether we should do a live-action remake of this one. I've just given up questioning it. We shouldn't do live-action remakes of most of the things I cast. But anyway, next, and finally, it's Sitka. You need the big brother, yeah. And my problem here is, Sitka looks way older than his brothers, okay? just way older, okay? If it wasn't called Brother Bear, they may as well have had him be their dad of the other two of them, okay? He looked so much older. So I was really sitting there thinking, trying to cast him like, what age am I trying to go for? Even vaguely? You know, but if I'm casting Booboo Stewart as 26, then I was kind of like, okay, so you don't want to go older than probably mid-30s, you know, in that kind of time. It would have been ridiculous for them to be more than 10 years apart, right? So I'm going to cast Martin Sensmeier. Sensmeier? I can't pronounce his name right, but I'm casting him. He's 35, okay? But yeah, he just does look so much older than them that I was just kind of like, yeah, no, I'm kind of okay with casting 35. And with him, he was also in Wind River, great in that, but he was also in the Magnificent Seven reboot. I forgot about that until he popped up eventually on lists of Native American actors I was searching through trying to find people right for these roles. And I just kind of went, oh my gosh, yeah, he was really good in that. And he's done that kind of thing. And Wind River, I think his role, I haven't seen it in a couple of years, I think his role in that as well was kind of quite actiony and running about and stuff, quite physical. But his role in the Magnificent Seven is plenty enough to show that, yeah, obviously Sitka isn't really in it in human form. He's kind of an eagle a lot of the time, but he's not in it in human form for more than the first 15-20 minutes. Probably longer in a live-action remake, maybe. I don't know. But he's shown that he can do that kind of thing, and he's just seems like a very good actor as well, you know? He just seems wise. In the Magnificent Seven especially, he just seemed like such a wise character that I thought it'd be easy for him to pull this kind of thing off as the very much wise older brother, you know? At the end, even as a spirit, he's like trying to settle them back down and be like, ho, 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 and all that, you know? So I was like, yeah, no, good. Nailed it. And that's all for this one, guys. Please check out more fan casts, 1 minute reviews, quick lists, all kinds of shit all over the channel. And let me know what else you'd like to see done as a fan cast or as anything else. What other types of videos do you want to see on the channel? There's a lot more stuff we could be doing, probably. And subscribe, because if I reach 1,000 by Christmas, I will sing Phil Collins songs live somewhere. What?